had a lot of experience with the horrors of a school shooting is Frank DeAngelis. He was principal at Colorado's Columbine High School back in 1999 when two student gunmen murdered 12 of their classmates and one teacher. Now, at the time, it was the worst high school shooting in U.S. history. Frank DeAngelis is joining us right now. 23 years ago, you were living what some of the folks in Uvalde, Texas are going through now. What was your reaction when you first saw this shooting?
Just brought me back 23 years ago, and then, of course, to Sandy Hook, and I think it just regenerates many of the feelings that we had. And I know one of the first things when I meet with all these communities, they believe it can't happen here, and it does. And unfortunately, just sending our thoughts out to them, I can't imagine what they're going through at this point.
You have been very open about your grieving process and what you went through during Columbine. What will it be like for these victims' families?
Each family is different, and it's a roller coaster ride. And, you know, one of the things that was beneficial to me was the fact that I talked to a Vietnam veteran after he got back. He was a dear friend of mine, and he called me within 24 hours, and he said, "Frank, if you're going to help others, you need to help yourself." And so I got into counseling immediately. My faith was very important to me, and so I had that great support system in place. But one of the things that I can tell the people in Uvalde is we're on this journey together, and we're going to be there every step of the way because they're all of our kids. And it doesn't matter if it's Texas, Colorado, Florida, they're all of our kids, and we need to stop these things from happening.
I know that survivor's guilt is something that a lot of people go through when they live through a situation like this. Do you have any advice for them?
That survivor's guilt is one of the most difficult things. When your classmates die, when you have teachers die. I know a dear friend of mine, Dave Sanders, unfortunately lost his life. And if he did not come up the staircase at the particular time he did, I wouldn't be doing this interview because it cured the gunman just for a temporary moment, and I was able to get myself and girls into a safe place. So there is that survivor's guilt, and it's something, again, with help, counseling, that I think so many times people feel that they're on this journey alone. And one of the biggest lessons that I learned is people can go through the same event, but how they deal with it, they deal with it differently. And there are going to be people that want to talk about it, other people that are going to be very quiet and want to be left alone, and people in between. And we need to respect where everyone is and provide that help for as many people as possible.
Now, obviously, a lot of people are talking about school safety right now. As always happens, right after a shooting, everybody rallies and debates and argues about what's best. In your view, over the past couple of decades, what works and what doesn't work?
Well, one of the things that I talk about going back to 23 years, over 23 years ago, the only drills we did in Colorado were fire drills. But now these kids from a very early age are learning about lockdowns, lockouts, things like that, lights out of sight. But I think one of the most important things is the response by the police officers. I think having school resource officers in buildings are important. For us, we had a school resource officer that was in the building or outside exchanging gunfire, but the protocol 20 plus years ago was to wait until SWAT team arrived. That protocol has changed, and there were so many lessons learned from Columbine. So having an officer on campus as opposed to waiting for a responding officer is so important. That's why I think having school resource officers in the building not only protect kids, but they're a great resource because most of these events are over within 5 minutes. So if you have someone in that building protecting the kids, I think that is a valuable resource.
Frank DeAngelis, thank you so much for sharing your story with us, and hopefully some lessons learned, because we shouldn't have to keep learning these lessons over and over again.
I agree, and thank you for all you're doing, and I greatly appreciate it, and they're all of our kids, and it's a sad day.
Yeah, those were some of the most powerful words you spoke this morning. They're all of our kids. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to click on the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.